Good afternoon and welcome to episode 4 of Inside Out, a monthly webcast where Thinka's co-founders and respective CEO and CEO, Ben and Lee, talk through all the weird and wonderful, hard and human parts of business and leadership. Today we're focusing on 3 big questions. How do we build a future-fit L&D strategy? How do we assess capability gaps to build a program? And what does a best practice capability development program look like? And how do we measure it?
When we're talking capability development in organizations and we think about L&D's role, they've got a really pivotal role in making sure that the L&D agenda aligns with strategy. And it's more than just going, we need a selection of courses and programs. It's about going, the organization has published a new strategy or they've developed some new strategic initiatives. How do I take the next step on that and make sure I'm identifying the key capabilities that we need as an organization to drive that strategy?
And that all came down to the development of 4 specific capabilities in every soldier that joined the Roman army. So I'm not going to go into a whole half an hour on Roman battles and things, but what I want to say is the 4 capabilities were actually quite simple. The first capability was marching, the second, weapon use, the third, sparring, and the fourth, obedience. So all of those 4 capabilities together helped build a really strong and formidable army in order to enact the strategy, the Roman domination that they were looking for. So I think if we translate that back to what we're doing with organizations, you have the strategy, and sometimes it's just a pretty document, what are the actual tangible tactical things we can do to make sure that it lands on the ground?
We talk future fit, organizations wanting to change and evolve with their strategy. We can't also discount the need to retire what has been successful in the past because it doesn't serve future need. And that would be one thing that I just encourage L&D practitioners to think about is our role is to make sure that we've always got the right relevance, but we've also got that stretch. What do we need for the future?
If I think about an example of us working with a specific organization in a declining industry, they were trying to kind of reinvent and make their organization feel a bit more modern, appeal to a younger market, and they were going through a major change and transformation journey. So they brought in a strategy consultant, literally had developed a 30 to 50 page document of very fancy graphs, diagrams, models, pillars, the works, everything you see in a strategy document. And then we were brought in as L&D experts to actually break down the strategy and go, well, hang on a minute, how's that going to translate into practice, and work with the leaders in the organization to identify the actual things they needed to do to enable the strategy, because that bit wasn't actually clear. As we know with adult learning, the way to get engagement is it has to have an action orientation. It has to be tangible, make a difference to their work, help them do the things that they want to do, and go hand in hand, obviously, with the business priorities. But a personal and a professional element, I find, is how you normally get that cut through. So if you feel like you're growing as an individual and in your career, then you're probably more inclined to want to contribute to the enablement of the organization strategy.
With individuals developing capabilities, they don't always know what they don't know. So, we've developed a new strategy. We know we need to grow our need for innovation capability. If I use that example, I believe I'm doing really well as the individual, but the organization can see something that I can't. That's an important part in this journey as well. And I think the multiple data sources help create that picture, because if we get every individual to do a traditional training needs analysis or more modern capability analysis on where they're at, that's a self view, and they might be able to collect a leader view. But being able to look at things like historical engagement data to understand how aligned the organization is to strategy or how much they believe in the organization's purpose, help us understand what the barriers and challenges might be at the start of the program as well.
Yeah, I would agree. We need to move away from just being data collectors and being data curators.
I think when you can align what you're doing to strategy, you have the mindset shift in people of, I don't have time to, we're making time. Because when it feels unaligned, for example, I'm going to do a time management course or I'm doing X workshop and there's nothing behind that, you're more inclined to, I don't have time for that, I'll bump it, to, this is in my diary. I know it's interaction 6 of this particular capability building program, it's important I'm there for my peers, because when you're with your peer group and you're all working towards a common goal, there's that accountability that comes with it. So I moved to web making time. Leaders are interpreters, which I think is bang on. They are also able to maybe see what the performance perception gap might be for that individual. So they might think they're great at adapting, but you might go, oh God, they are in this context, but not in this context, in this context. So
Yeah.
that interpretation helps with some of that.
Yeah, because you can't measure what you can't see. The other piece to capability building is that we can't just say, at a top level, we're going to be building capability in communication. Well, what communication? Is it planning presentations? Is it collaborating in meetings? Is it understanding that everybody has a different perspective and welcoming that perspective and being inclusive? Is it giving really good feedback or being able to receive feedback? That's kind of a big challenge we've been seeing lately. So, like, what bit of communication are we talking about? One, and then what are the behaviors and actions that we see in the workplace that show that particular capabilities?
I think that there is that personalization piece as well, around just going, what do I need to see from this particular individual? And when you embed different data points or even evaluation more broadly throughout a program, and you can incrementally build an understanding of that person's capability over the program, you inevitably understand, has the gap that you understood at the start been closed, both as a cohort, but also as individual participants. And this is a really important part of the process, is don't divorce the role of L&D from the organizational business units that these people maybe work in. It's our job, yes, to facilitate the learning, but it's then also our job to hold them accountable to what we agreed as the outcomes.
When we talk capability, it really is just that tangible piece, and we need to be able to connect it to behaviors and actions. So I want to say that it's a combination of technical skills, human skills, behaviors, and individual characteristics. And it's a holistic look at how that is going to enable the business goals, but also give that individual something quite personal in terms of their development.
My final thought is find ways to use incremental data points over the life of the program to help the individual build a proper self-awareness picture on where they're at and where they need to get to. That there is gold, and it inevitably links to strategy beautifully.